Hello, DynamicsCon, and a very, very happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. And top of the morning or top of the day to you, Brian. How are you?
Very good. Pretty excited to be a part of today's session. So I know we have a lot to cover, and I think everyone hopefully get a lot out of it.
Absolutely. And you'll notice I like that we're both wearing green today.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, let's do a couple of introductions really quick, and then we'll start talking about how to automate your supply chain through SPS Commerce for your GP instance. I am Judy Weston. I've been at SPS Commerce for 16 years, working with our Microsoft partners as well as customers that are running Dynamics. And Brian Lynch, I will let you introduce yourself.
Perfect. So I am a senior product specialist here at SPS. Believe it or not, have been in EDI almost 25 years. All of that actually within the Great Plains and Dynamics community. So been to Fargo quite a few times and started off on what was then called Great Plains Accounting DOS. So excited to see how the GP community has kind of grown.
Oh, that's awesome, Brian. What were you, like 3 when you started in EDI?
I was more like 2.5, but it was pretty early.
Okay, great. So before we get started, I just wanted to give you an idea of our footprint within the Dynamics space. And kind of in case you missed it, news, SPS Commerce purchased Data Masons in December of 2020, which was kind of the culmination of a decade-long partnership that we had together. Back then, we brought over all of the Data Masons employees, so 140 at that time, but we've grown in the last 13 months to a team of over 200 dedicated experts in the Microsoft market team. We're supporting over 1,500 customers, and we have over 25 years of experience working with Microsoft. So anything that you would add to that, Brian?
Well, obviously our collective team has a lot of experience with Dynamics, representing a lot of different industries. I'm excited in regards to the approach that we take, again, with a Microsoft certified integration, the largest retail network. So it's been of great value to our customers, and we're seeing a lot of them grow, as they use their Dynamics platform to help them achieve their goals.
Yeah, it sure has been a lot of fun. So the agenda today, we're going to talk about order fulfillment challenges. Brian's going to walk us through a demonstration, and we're also going to talk about the SPS Commerce full service EDI approach. So if that sounds like what you signed up for, then let's get started. So SPS Commerce really wants to meet our customers where they are in their EDI journey. So whether they're a t-shirt manufacturer who just got set up with Target and has to learn about EDI for the first time, and then as they grow and they add the Amazons of the world and marketplaces like Shopify, and really kind of dealing with those complexities in the supply chain, maybe adding a third-party logistics provider and how do I communicate via EDI with them. And then last but not least, certainly as companies grow, they make system changes and investments in different ERPs, much like some of you GP companies may be considering making that migration over to Business Central. So we can help our customers no matter where they are in their EDI journey. And in our 2 decades of experience in EDI, what we found is there are really 7 core components to a successful EDI deployment. First of all, with the technology, and obviously we hit a home run with the acquisition of Data Mason. So we've got that industry leading Microsoft certified technology. The trading partner expertise. You need somebody who knows what the trading partner requirements are. For instance, what order management models will I be expected to fulfill, and what document types do I have to trade from trading partner to trading partner? And of course, designing and configuring, making sure that that EDI data makes it into your system, into GP, the way that you want to see it, and the cross-references are set up. And of course, we have the trading partner connectivity, AS2, FTP, API, whatever that is. The testing and launch is actually where we spend most of our time, making sure that those orders are populated into GP in the way that your company needs to see it. And you want to make sure that you have external support. So if people have questions, that they're able to get those questions answered, and that they're monitoring your data to make sure that those transactions are successfully being processed into and out of GP. What we find in many EDI providers is that you really don't get all 7 of those components. It doesn't actually, we're live, Brian. The EDI solution doesn't cover all 7 of those components. You get maybe a piece of technology, some limited support in design and configuration, and then all of those other items or all those other pieces are meant to be filled by somebody at your company, which means that if you don't have an EDI expert on staff and you're learning on the fly, it can lead to things like slow onboarding, chargebacks from your trading partners. And sometimes if you can't get EDI right, you actually lose the trading partner. So a lot of risk there. Anything you'd add to that, Brian?
Yeah, and what's coming to mind, unfortunately, is some of the conversations that I've had with organizations that maybe tried to partner with an outsourced EDI or even tried to do things in-house. And, wow, everything from, thousands and thousands of dollars in fines or lost revenue to, partners taking, months to become compliant with new EDI mandates. Ultimately, this just forces the Dynamics user, to spend a lot more internal resources, lose out on revenue opportunities, or have more expenses. So not doing this the right way definitely eats into a lot of the benefits and definitely has some hard consequences. Absolutely.
Good point. So over our 20 years or 2 decades in the EDI space, this is kind of a global footprint of where SPS sits in the supply chain. And if we rewind 20 years ago when we first started the network, the first customer that we went to connect with Walmart, we reached out to Walmart, we found out how they wanted to connect, got their specifications, build out the maps for each one of those document types. And what's unique about SPS, when we looked at adding the second trading partner connection to Walmart, or the second customer connected to Walmart, we actually use those same maps. We use that same connectivity, those same maps. And then fast forward 20 years, we have over 2,000 customers that are getting their orders from Walmart reusing those same maps. And what that means for our customers is a high degree of reliability, right? Because we definitely have to make sure that those maps are up to date, and a faster time to value. So we now have over 3,000 buying organizations in our network and over 500,000 pre-mapped connections. And along the way, we picked up about 1,000 third-party logistics companies as well. Then you can see some of the security certifications that we've gotten through the years that are important to us and our customers.
And Judy, real quick, I'd add, definitely I'm seeing trending with drop shipping and other kind of order management models and channels opening up, not only needing to connect to suppliers, but again, on that 3PL logistics, sometimes, who do I need to work with, and, who is in a given region or who specializes in products similar. What I found from our team is not only do we have the technical mapping, but really some of that expertise to help our customers pick the right 3PL. So it's just another benefit that, again, being a part of the network, it's not just about the technology, but sometimes, again, these other connections.
Yeah, Brian, do you know a 3PL in the Northeast that helps with cold storage?
There's
we
just
do.
a few.
Yes, we do. So definitely utilize that knowledge. We're talking about the middle, blue box here, which is the EDI piece automation with GP. But there are some other services that we offer to our customers that help really kind of streamline their supply chain and their business processes. And the one on the left, the item data, that is a hot topic right now. A lot of the issue in EDI is, hey, I'm getting kind of bad data from my trading partner? How do I make sure that Walmart has the correct item data so that they're ordering the correct they're ordering the correct items in the correct quantities? And that's hard, right? Because every retailer wants that information in a different fashion. And SPS has a repository where we can manage that on behalf of our customers. So that's a very timely conversation that we're having a lot these days. And on the right side, looking at kind of sell-through data. So a lot of retailers are now offering that sell-through data, especially in the wake of COVID, because they need help managing to help with those stockouts and make sure that there's inventory and there's not excess inventory. So we have a solution that helps with that as well. And last and certainly not least, the supplier onboarding. This is kind of what Brian mentioned earlier with talking about connecting with your suppliers and automating the procure to pay process. So we help companies that are, have 2 suppliers or 2,000 suppliers onboard those companies. And I'm going to turn it over to Brian to untangle the complexity.
Yeah, it's funny. I look at this, and this really was kind of the way that you did EDI when I first started. And quite frankly, we still see this, unfortunately, today, where, again, you brought up that example of Walmart. And so as a managed solution, hey, customer A needs to trade with Walmart. We're going to go build that map, which is really the notion of a source and a destination and all of the different fields. And, Walmart, for instance, takes over 120 pages to describe the rules around what is a purchase order for Walmart. And so you build that map, and then, okay, how I deployed my ERP, how I use this user-defined field. And so you're literally kind of piecing that together per partner, per document. And all of a sudden, I started off with Walmart, and now I need to add Target, and now I need to add Amazon. And so one day you kind of look up and like, wow, I've got hundreds of different maps. A lot of those maps have logic that, frankly, is kind of duplicated between one map to another. So if there's any sort of updates, then oftentimes you have to then apply that logic hundreds of times. And even if you choose to outsource it, a lot of times a managed service provider, if they have 50 customers, they literally now need to make that change 50 different times. And on a given organization, where do you fall in the list? Are you the first to get the update? Are you the last to get the update? There's just a lot of challenges with this point-to-point mapping exercise. And so as you look how SPS has really, built up this expertise and this network effect, Judy talked about, again, those 500,000 connections. Target and Grainger and Fleet Farm here as examples. Yes, traditional EDI, but the network is capable of doing APIs, XML, lots of different formats, lots of different channels. And one example of that is Shopify down at the bottom left, where, maybe it's B2B or B2C e-commerce site. But again, we want to use the power of the network to standardize and integrate. And so in that blue box, the pre-map connections, the standardization of data, the communication, you no longer have to worry about AS2 and certificate management and what value-added network does partner A need versus partner B. And the fact that, again, Walmart just made this update to their map, as a full service provider, that standardization that SPS does takes care of those technical elements for you. And so now, as you look to the right and you look at your own Dynamics system, and again, whether that's GP today or down the line, maybe one of the other Dynamics lines, we now have a standardized order that we're going to be able to then apply our specific rules for your deployment and now have one map per transaction type that handles all of our various customers. And then as you execute pick, pack, ship in this example, being able to send that standardized ASN and PO acknowledgement and invoice back up to the network in an automated fashion, whereby at a network level, those individual partner and channel rules would then get applied so that you can then communicate with these partners. And the result of this is quicker onboarding, more compliance, and being able to really get the value of a fully integrated EDI system.
Hey, Brian, you bring up a good point. Earlier, you mentioned whether you're looking to move to another Dynamics product. So we've been having a lot of conversations with GP customers who are thinking about migrating to Business Central, and they've asked, if I'm maybe thinking about that 2 years down the road, what part of this is reusable and what needs to change should they want to make the leap to another Dynamics product?
Yeah, no, you're right. We are seeing a lot of those conversations and even potentially outside of Dynamics. And I think, one of the values, if you go back to that earlier slide mentally of the hundreds of maps, a map is really a source and destination. And so if you change the ERP, you're changing 50% of that map. So you literally have, in that example, hundreds of things that you need to change. So for all intensive purposes, you're truly redeploying your EDI, even though, yes, maybe the translator or the communication, may be staying the same. And that's night and day, what our SPS full service customers are able to take advantage of. Because again, if you think about it, those individual partner mappings, we have one map for Walmart that all of our suppliers use, no matter what ERP that they have. And so to the heart of your question, what changes is that SPS has, pre-built adapters for these different ERPs, Business Central and Finance and Supply Chain included. And so, again, you don't have to rewrite the integration layer. That's a module that we configure. And so what we test is really that notion of, again, that standardized order, or that standardized ASN. And so it really gets into, yes, we're still configuring and yes, there's still testing, but 80, 90% of the project's already done versus that point-to-point approach. So significant savings in cost and time and resources if an ERP changes in your future.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. That's really helpful. The other thing to note is that if you're connected already to, the Target and Grainger in this example, an ERP change is many times transparent to them. They have no idea how you're getting the orders. They just know that you're EDI compliant. So that's another thing that's kind of a time saver, not having to reach back out to each one of those retailers and go through an end-to-end test. And we can just test between your company and SPS. And I think I'll turn it over now to you, Brian, to take us through a tour of our GP solution.
Perfect. Well, this is so exciting for me to kind of showcase how SPS really simplifies a fully integrated EDI workflow here, demonstrating under sales transaction entry and helping with your customers. So our system is typically set up on a fully automated schedule, meaning maybe I check for new orders every minute. I send invoices out once an hour. That is all definable by you. And so as we pull the order into the system, before we do so, we are a natural staging table. So we want to validate, is this a valid customer? Is it a valid item? Unit of measure conversion? How do we determine pricing? All of those areas. And if it passes all of the tests that GP requires, or again, some of the rules that you've added on top for your specific circumstances, the end result is we have a sales order in the system as if we had keyed it in. So the mere fact that we've created an order, the fact that we've identified it as, in this case, a standard order type, and for those of you GP users know that, under the order type, this is how I control allocation and some of the other business rules. EDI is able to invoke those. Automating the batch ID, what warehouse are we shipping from? Again, my part numbers to their part numbers, and those areas that we needed to process. Now, how does SPS know that this is a EDI enabled partner? And so if I drill into customer maintenance just for a second, I'm going to take your attention down to the bottom buttons here. Again, this is standard Dynamics. However, SPS System Automation is capable of adding an EDI button whereby we can say, aha, Target is an EDI partner. Here's the documents they do. Here are the workflows and business rules that are required. Now, within your GP system, we appreciate that there's different ways that you may fulfill your orders. Maybe you're using drop ship functionality with one of your vendors. Maybe you're doing a third-party logistics provider, which, by the way, again, SPS can help with. Or you're using a shipping or WMS system. We've integrated with some of the top providers within the Microsoft family. But as you execute pick, pack, and ship, one of the things that we are doing is what we call TLE, or Transaction Lifecycle Explorer. And what this is doing at its most simplest of levels is basically going in and showcasing, okay, we received an inbound purchase order, what date and time. And then again, as we executed those steps, in my example, we now generated out our purchase order acknowledgement. I'm configured to use a third-party warehouse. And so I would go through and send out our electronic picking ticket. They executed shipping. And then as they sent back the shipping advice information, I used that to update our quantity fulfilled, including any canceled back order, lot, serial information, tracking numbers, freight amount, etc. And then my next step would then be to generate out the invoice so that we can get paid for that shipment. Now, as an empowered order entry person, I can view the raw message. I can see human readable equivalents. I can edit the transaction if I have security to. I can reprocess transactions. There's a number of things that we're able to do right within our experience. Now, just to take a little bit of a peek here, behind the scenes, our system also has a number of dashboards and functionality that, again, you can take advantage of. Now, we ship pre-configured. However, maybe that customer service representative doesn't like this dashboard. He wants that dashboard over there. That's all personalization. These dashboards are actionable. And so as we drill into those, how many of the orders did we come in? In this case, we maybe had a few invoices that we needed to monitor. And so it's not uncommon for our GP users to maybe get 1,000 sales orders in this morning at 7 o'clock before any employees even showed up. However, out of that 1,000, 2 of them had an exception. And so whether it be the KPI or email or text notifications, they're alerted to the documents that they need to interact with and reprocess and be able to fix those issues. Now, we won't have time to go in all of the features. I'm just going to take one quick second just to briefly talk about our scheduling system, because again, the intelligence and the automation is one of the core values of integrated EDI. And so here, if I look at something like outbound invoices, currently that's a 3-step process that takes us, 1 minute to do. Well, maybe in your environment, you want to do it every hour. You want to do it every 5 minutes. And you say to us, you know what, instead of these 3 steps, we also want to insert in, maybe an additional report or alert or functionality. Well, that's simply dragging that over to the step. So a very simple, configurable integration that allows that automation to occur. So those are some of the things that I wanted to kind of showcase in the actual dashboard in GP, but I've asked Judy to kind of take us through a little bit in regards to some of our fulfillment capabilities.
Thanks, Brian. As Brian mentioned, we do have a fulfillment product that complements our automation with GP. So this is always running in the background, meaning that there's a copy, a human readable copy going to a portal site of your orders. You can transact advanced ship notices and invoices, anything else that's required by a trading partner. And a lot of times our customers are using a combination of automation and the fulfillment solution so that they can optimize their system. Sometimes it just doesn't. For example, Bed Bath & Beyond sends an 864 text message, and there's really nowhere in GP for that to live. So that can live in a human readable format out on the portal site. And then just a couple of stats on that we're really proud of and always working to increase. We are the current retention leader. We have over a 90% retention rate. And over 780 customers came over to SPS Commerce last year from a competitor. So we're pretty proud of that. And like I said, always looking forward to striving to be even better. And if any of these items that we talked about today, the demo, spark any questions for you, certainly reach out to us. We'd be happy to engage in a conversation. And on behalf of Brian and myself, thank you so much for your time today. Happy St. Patrick's Day and enjoy your time at DynamicsCon.